Hi, everyone. Welcome to Getting Personal with Compt. I am Lauren Schneider. I'm the head of brand and communications here. This is a show ways we can make the workplace a better human experience for everyone. And I think part of that is something that we forget a lot. You can have fun at work. Oh no, wow.
Shocking.
So I am so excited to have with me today Acey Holmes, founder and CEO of BoredLess, because I would love to be bored less at work. Not in this job. If Amy, if you're listening, not in this job. This job's a lot of fun. It's like, whoa. Anyway, Acey, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I've seen you doing some very impressive and cool things. TEDx, hello. What is that about?
So, yeah, that happened in December last year, which was 2023. And it was honestly not something that was ever on, my bucket list or anything I had ever sought out to do. But when I started doing this work, just sharing my ideas about play and what I was discovering from the study of it all, I realized that, I really enjoyed talking about it, but even in formal situations, which is actually a little different for me. I never was a public speaker in the past. I used to be the one in like an undergrad in college. I would raise my hand to say something I knew was very much the right answer, and I would be shaking. So it's, I've done a lot of self-reflection over the past year or so, and I realized that it's because the message is so important to me that I want so many people to know about it. So my first public speaking thing is, aside from presentations, was something called Disrupt HR. Yeah. So I did that a couple times and was invited to do TEDx. And like I said, I'd never considered it before, but they asked me if I wanted to do it. And I thought, this doesn't really seem like something you say no to.
Right.
You asked to do a TEDx, you figure it out.
Yes.
So that's what happened last year.
So I want to talk about this idea though, because we know that like big things breed from Disrupt HR. It comes to a very important stage. I mean, TEDx is the whole TED program is like common public knowledge. This isn't just an HR thing. So I love that this concept is going beyond the conversation of like, well, I'm an HR manager. How can I make work more inviting for people? And is just more encompassing. So I want to talk about your inspiration for this. Like, was there a moment that happened to you where you realized, wait a second, like I need to be talking about this, or I have the formula, I have the answer, we can fix this?
So my background is wildly different, but not wildly different, but it's pretty different from what I'm doing now. I used to work on the floor with kids. I was a speech pathologist. So helping children to learn to communicate and eat, which is part of speech pathology, which a lot of people don't know, but did that for a really long time. I was good at it. I really loved it and just got burnt out really hard. So I knew I needed a pivot. I needed something different. When you're in one of those kind of clinical roles, it's hard to pivot it, especially since it came up on the heels of the pandemic as well. And really the only pivot was to virtual, and like, oh, that was being done and oh, that was worse. So it was hard to figure it out, but I knew that the play aspect of it was the basis of it all. Whatever I was gonna do next, it had to involve play in some fashion. So my first attempt at a pivot was the toy industry. I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna work for Lego. I'm gonna, help toys and make their games and everything more accessible, especially for children with language disorders. That was
Yeah.
my area. And that did not work out for a number of reasons. One, I had no idea what I was doing being an entrepreneur at that time, and didn't even know the resources that were available. So that was a bit of a nightmare. And also, it just was not the open arms and welcome ears that I thought I would find. So ended up needing to pivot again. But it was the research that I had been doing in sort of that toy industry space, looking at kids and why kids play and how to make that more palatable for the general public. so that it actually gets put into policy. There's way too many schools that don't have recess for elementary school or middle school. And there's, preschoolers who are coming home with worksheets, all kinds of stuff. And this is terrible. It's awful. So trying to figure out how to convince not just school administration that play is important for children. The research that I started doing led into, play can lead to future leadership skills, that kind of thing. And so starting to look at leadership skills and falling into HR publications and seeing things. This is what leaders need, and this is what teams should do, and this is how culture should be, and employee engagement is trash. And I was like, oh no, it's our adults that need play. Kids actually, at least kids will play on their own when given the time, but adults won't, and we're not. And it is so far removed from us that I realized, oh, no. There's plenty, the Lego Foundation is one of them. There's plenty of organizations out there doing really good work about advocating for children to play, but there's just not as many of us out here advocating for adults to play. So here we are.
It makes a lot of sense. But from I guess I'm thinking about this strategically, tactically, what does this even look like in practice? Because it's obviously not just like going hog wild at work, playing board games, like just going off the rails and not ever getting anything done. So there's a secret sauce, right?
There's a couple crucial elements that we need to consider when we're thinking about play at work. One is what play really is. So it's a very common view that play, you either earn it, it's a hobby that you do after work. You get, your responsibilities are taken care of. If you have some free time in your schedule, then you can work in some play. So that's the way most people view it. But when we really look at the neuroscience of what play does to us when we're playing, it's a vital part of being human. So it is the way children learn. It's also the way adults learn. Our brains, the circuitry for play hasn't changed as we age. So if adults still learn best, find the greatest creativity and innovation, problem solving, creative thinking, all that kind of stuff is happening and is boosted when we play. So when we understand the neuroscience behind all of that, makes it a little more palatable for us serious professionals at work, right? To consider play. Okay, well, this is good for our brain. Step one. And then step two is to realize what play is and what it isn't.
Right.
So there's 8 characteristics of play. There's not really a good hard and fast definition for it. The researchers at universities and personality science and all kinds of stuff, they can't really decide on one given definition for play. And if you Google it, usually it'll say something about kids or animals, pets. But what I found was 8 overlapping characteristics from a number of researchers: Peter Gray, Stuart Brown, Gokhan Gunas, the Lego Foundation. Who am I forgetting? Jacques Panskep, Renee Proyer, a lot of researchers. And there's a lot of overlap. And, their academic one-liner in their study isn't the same, but these characteristics are crucial to it. So if we understand that play is personal, which is really, that might be the most important one to know, it's different for everyone. So play is personal. Play is joyful, brings you joy. Again, joy is also pretty personal. So what brings you joy might not bring me joy, and that's okay. Personal, joyful, beneficial. I've mentioned a couple of the benefits already: creative thinking, problem solving. You end up improving your communication skills. Collaboration gets better. There's physical benefits if it's a physical form of play. Some of the neurochemistry of what's happening when we play actually directly helps our ability to regulate our reactions to stress. So we get norepinephrine, which regulates our stress levels. We feel better, that kind of thing. So tons of benefits. Some aspect of the play needs to be optional. Now, if we're talking about play at work, that can get a little tricky because maybe the task at hand is required. But can we be looking at how we do it, where we do it, when we do it, or who we do it with?
Mhm.
Potentially little things, little flexibility and autonomy. Never hurt anybody. So play should be optional. Play needs to be actively engaging, and it doesn't have to mean physically engaging. It can be cognitive or mentally engaging that way. And then play needs to be seemingly purposeless and intrinsically motivating. So there's a lot of really cool outcomes for play. All kinds of things that you can earn, or there's a reward or a validation, maybe an actual trophy, right? But when we're playing, we can't be playing to get that. That's an external, extrinsic motivation. We just need to be playing for the sake of the play itself. And then play also needs to be iterative. That's our 8th one. So you have to be able to change it up a little bit from time to time. It just can't be exactly the same every time. And then if you want to make it socially interactive, neurochemistry coming back in there, we might boost a little oxytocin, making it social, which could level up some of the benefits, but that's definitely not required. So if you have a form of play that you very much enjoy because you're alone, then that's your play, and that's okay. So that's what play is. So if we understand that what play is really, that it's not just go play a video game, that it's definitely not take the entire team to an escape room without asking them if they like escape rooms. It's none of that. And when we understand what it does in our brains, that can really change people's views, especially at work.
I want to talk more about that brain piece because we're constantly hearing things like in the benefits side of the world and just in so many headlines and conferences and various places about a focus on health and wellness and well-being and what do those things mean, and we've kind of evolved past like, okay, physical health, oh wait, maybe now mental health, now financial health, like what do all these things look like? Now we're thinking about play and the balance between, gosh, I really need to engage my people, but I don't want to over engage them. So because it's a slippery slope and a very fast track to burnout. So is play kind of the, I don't want to say hack. That's not like a great way to describe
Right.
it. But
Right.
like the play is the hack to making sure your people don't hate where they work. I don't think that's the answer. But is there something there that contributes to, or is a key factor in the overall package that is employee well-being?
Absolutely. So the TEDx that you mentioned earlier, my focus of that talk was about flow and how play factors into the concept of flow. So a lot of people are familiar with flow state, being in the zone, whatever, but it's actually a cycle of 4 stages, and play is crucial to each of the 4 stages. So when we're in flow, which is really just the 3rd stage of the whole cycle, we're having what is scientifically proven to be a peak performance, a peak experience. Stephen Kotler calls it an optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and perform our best. And this has been extensively studied and proven. That is what flow is at the 3rd stage of the cycle. The cycle comes from a cardiologist named Herbert Benson that discovered the mind-body connection. Stephen Kotler has extended his research. But so the cycle of the 4 stages, when we think about the 3rd one being that peak experience. So peak being a high. So if we think and considering what's happening in our brain, the neurochemistry, dopamine, serotonin, anandamide, which is actually similar to THC, endorphins, norepinephrine, all of these things that make everything better. And we are at a peak, but we have to come down from that peak. We can't stay up there, right? And that's the definition of peak. It is a one point in time, otherwise it'd be a plateau, right? So the trouble with the flow cycle, really, and I think it's why a lot of people don't know about it and that it's not being studied enough, in my opinion, is because we don't allow for the next stage in the cycle, which is recovery. So we come down all of those feel good neurochemicals go away. We feel like crap. It doesn't matter how great what we did was in flow. We feel awful. But what does
Right.
hustle culture tell us to do? Too bad. Get over it. Get back out there. Please get
Yep.
back to work, because what you just did was trash. There's some more neuroscience in that, why your inner critic gets worse. Having to do with your prefrontal cortex and transient hyperfrontality. But we just completely ignore this recovery phase when rest and play are crucial to let our brains and bodies reset and a little bit heal. Because if you're really in the flow pretty deeply,
Hmm.
if it's a physical flow too, like you could injure, you could have a little damage. So you've got to heal, you've got to rest, you've got to play, but we skip it. We completely skip it. So we're going from flow, try to get back into flow, feel worse. Try to get back into flow, feel worse. Try to get back into flow, feel worse and worse and worse. And boom, we're at burnout on
Right.
best case scenario. Worst case scenario is severe depression. So the concept of how to boost well-being should be viewed very closely with play, and considering play to be that avenue to holistic well-being, truly. So that's something that people can do on their own. You can, look at your own personal play identity and figure out what play means to you and add a playful practice into your life, just like yoga, a good sleep regimen, whatever. But for those of you out there who, do yoga a lot and eat pretty good and sleep okay, and then go to work and everyone is awful and it's a horribly toxic place, might as well not have, you might not be as bad, but it's still going to be rough. So that's
Right.
why I decided to go around you and try to fix your place where you have to go to work and apply that playful work design, so that when you have your own playful practice, then you can all bring it together as a team, and then the team benefits are astronomical as well. So
I want to talk about those team benefits because we're constantly hearing what's the ROI of literally everything. I understand with certain programs, certain workplace design, there are things that you can track, like engagement rates or utilization. Are people using this benefit? We're now offering some sort of mental health counseling or something, and we know 80% of people are using it, and as a result, our workforce is happier, more productive. Is this something that you can track? What does this look like? What's a success story?
yeah. So when I work directly with teams, I do a culture audit with them. If they already have a software system in place that does their surveys, that kind of thing, I can work alongside those, or we can come up ones that are really customized for their team and exactly what they're looking for. And then, the play to me, as I've studied all the different types of metrics and that sort of thing, it's my firm belief that we can take playful work design and work it into any KPI. That goes for, revenue bottom lines. It goes for an engagement survey rate, just a, self-perception from the team. It can go to reduced absenteeism. It can go to innovative ideas being brought up maybe by unexpected people. So it can be applied to anything across the board, because at its core, again, I mentioned before, it's vital to being human. And so when I was looking at all the different metrics that are out there and reading Forbes and Gallup and all of the studies, they do link closely to employee engagement, because what is an engaged employee? Someone who looks forward to going work. They like what they're doing. Maybe they're pretty good at what they're doing. It feels like a good fit for them. So allowing people to apply their own playfulness in that role, the engagement just goes up and up and up and up in really great ways.
So this is a problem, how do I want to position this? This is a solution that can be tailored across industries, because we know the engagement, the happiness, the burnout, the employee loneliness pandemic. is prevalent across the board in any industry. So, how do you tailor your approach to different places, different company cultures when we're in a world where there's companies that are fully remote? Maybe you're in tech, you have people who are working dirty jobs in oil fields. You're working with, I'm like making up stuff. I'm like, you have to reach everybody at every unique stage in their life. You talked about the personalization piece. How do you reach everyone? How do you scale that?
Yeah. So that's where I really want to share my work, because so much of what we see is a one size fits all. There's a website
Mhm.
out there that you can just Google and it gives you a ton of activities that you could do with your team. Most of them are games. Um, you can throw one off things at a group, but without knowing who the individuals are within that group, there's no way to know. And most likely it's just going to backfire. Even if it comes down to simply, you got a lot of introverts on your team and they don't want to touch other people's shoes. Like that, a lot of these activities that team building things involve taking your shoes off, which I no, thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So that's a really crucial piece for me. And it ends up being extra work. I think it's worth it, but it ends up being
Right.
extra work because, hold on, do we have to talk to the people? We have to ask them questions and actually listen to their answers? Like,
The listening
what? This
piece.
is mind blowing stuff over here when it's actually really very simple. So there's, generally every group I'm with will ask, well, what's the one thing we can do? I'm like, I don't know you well enough yet. Like, let's talk. Let's get to know you better. I mean, I have ideas I can throw at you, but I have no way to know if they're going to be successful for you, given the dynamics of your team. And we
Right.
have to go, because a lot of companies have been doing it so horribly for so long. There's a lot to overcome. And so that's another issue with the whole concept of playful work design, is people just think, oh, yeah, just come in and do the game. No, that is not what's happening here. We are not here to play games. What we're about to do is actually very serious. And it might be some deep work. Like, we got to get to know people. People have
Right.
to get to know themselves. And so it's really crucial that everything's tailored by asking your people questions, the right questions.
It's wild that that is in some places, in many places. I don't want to get crazy here, but still like a novel idea. So do you think the market is ready to have this conversation or ready to hear it? A lot of times people aren't ready to hear this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's deep, right? Because who knows what we're going to uncover with your culture audit, and it might be hard to hear. But if you're serious about taking a look at what your company offers people, I wrote recently about this whole concept of, should we even call it a company culture? Because if we really look at the definition of culture and what a culture really is, does it actually apply? And would it be better to use the word community and consider our workplace as a community? Because we have, what are some other communities we have? We have neighborhoods. We
Mhm.
have maybe a school system, a church, your HOA, God forbid. Uh,
Don't get me started.
right? But when we think about, okay, so these are communities that we're in. Do you love everyone in your neighborhood? Did you love everyone at your school? Do you love everyone at your church? I'm not going to get into like a religious conversation, but we're in a lot of communities where we are involved with a lot of people, and we don't necessarily always get along with them or see eye to eye, but we have a shared mission. Mission. I'll just put it together, mission and vision. I made up a new word. A mission. We have a shared mission, a shared vision, and hopefully some shared values. Maybe they're not all exactly the same, and that's okay, but in the task. So
Right.
why don't we view work that way? Especially if it's a lot of times, not always, and there is a level of conversation around privilege going forward in this a little bit, but where you might be, choosing where you work,
Mhm.
to whatever level that you might have that option. And on the flip side, for the company, choosing who works for you and creating a community of people who are actually there to support each other
Right.
and the the business. And like, I know there's a lot of trash companies out there, not trash companies, but hot garbage companies out there. Like you were saying, it's still pretty sad, a lot of places, but it doesn't have to be. And we really can have workplaces that we enjoy going, the leaders enjoy leading. I mean, that's not magical. That can definitely be realistic if we maybe just spin our perspective into being community members together along with each other.
When we talk about these types of concepts, when I talk to people in this setting, in HR, in the outskirts of HR, when I talk to people who deeply care about creating a better workplace for everyone, and I mean truly everyone, all of these things just seem so simple to do. So like what's the holdup? I don't How do you see this concept of playful work design evolving in the future? Like is it something that you think people can grasp onto and move quickly with it? Is it truly like a huge effort that they have to put in and put in the work over time to see the results? Or, I mean, you know about human nature and work through your journey. What does this look like? Could it really be a quick turnaround for people?
Yeah. So simple, not always easy, right? So there's that, because I do believe it's simple. It might not be easy. And actually, you asked me about the market, like if the market's ready for it. And
Yeah.
I think I've actually been very pleasantly surprised with the open minds and curiosity and wait, say more, that I get when I start to talk about this. And I firmly believe that is a direct result of the collective chronic trauma and stress that we experienced as a global community over the past few years.
Mhm.
And so, yes, like people are ready for it. People are ready for it. There's, people are in their own heads so much on purpose, so much more than we ever have been in the past. So I think individuals are ready to do the work on themselves to figure out what play is for them. And I
Mhm.
think as we continue to build the base of individuals that are ready, we will start to see teams and leadership really leaning into it as well. Even though what's easy? Nothing's easy, but simple, yes.
So speaking of leaders leaning into it, since I'm hoping that many of them are the ones watching this, since they can make the very immediate impact in their workplaces, because it's important for employees to know these things so that they're empowered and they know what to look for in a workplace, what they deserve, because we all deserve to work somewhere that like brings us joy and is a true community and supportive, where we all empower one another. But leaders can make that tangible impact and make that change right away.
Yeah.
So what are some I don't want to say quick tips because I don't want to cheapen how important this is, but like what is your advice for them in trying to integrate something like this, or steps that they can take before maybe they call you up? Because
Yeah,
there has to be something in between to help them on this journey.
absolutely. So a big part of it is really just considering what play might mean for you. And again, simple, not easy, because it's it's not even necessarily corporations' faults that we don't play, but it is society as a whole. Adults
Hmm.
are removed from play. It's starting to become a common recommendation. Wall Street Journal, all these bigger publications are starting to put out articles about adults should play, consider adult recess, go have fun. Um, but most of us go, okay, sure. I'm a little busy. Thanks.
Right.
Like,
I
I
know.
got work and kids,
There
and my mom just moved in with me. And I mean,
it's everything.
when are we supposed to do this? So
Yes.
really taking some time to just figure out what play is for you. I just for ease of access, I do have some resources on my website for that. And then as a team, like really starting to look at it together. There's Renee Proyer is a well-respected researcher in the personality sciences, and he developed some personal play identities that I think are really crucial to team interaction as you're building playfulness together, because what people usually think of as playful is just one personal play identity, lighthearted. And so there's 3 other ones. And so a lot of people are already a little bit playful at work and they didn't even know it. But then we're not interacting together. So just doing some of that work to figure that out on their own. And then I believe there's 4 pillars to playful work design. And it is being mission driven, providing mission driven work for your employees, being truly inclusive and fully accessible, having flexibility, providing autonomy, and also creating a space that is psychologically safe. So whatever things that you need to do in your specific workplace to ensure that those 4 things are happening and that's what your employees are experiencing, whatever that might be, that is going to start leading you down the path to fully playful work design.
Quick question before we go. What is your favorite way to play at work?
I have 1 million things. So my work lately is mostly presentations. So I love Canva. Really, if anyone was from Canva's listening, everyone else will curse me for this, but I believe people should get paid when they get paid. Why do they only charge $12.99 a month for that? I don't know. I know. But
No.
do they know how valuable it is? I love Canva. I'm a Canva fangirl to the day, but it's actually my favorite way to play in my work because I get to create my own presentations and they are for my people specifically. So a lot of times I will get a little bit lost in flow, just changing out elements. And like, maybe this would be cuter if it was just a line drawing and not a photo of whatever I'm representing. So that is in work, a form of play. And then my favorite way to take a break is usually either some aspect of drawing with my eyes closed, just 20 seconds, very, very short, or a scribble bird or something like that. And then also Lego are my favorite. So these are Lego.
I love that. I love those.
So I have all but one set of the botanical line in
Amazing.
my house. So that's a favorite way for me to take a break.
Fantastic. Acey, thank you so much for your time today. This is a topic that deserves more than the 30-something minutes we've spent because there is just so much to unpack and I want people to hear everything that you have to say. So where can they find you? Where can they get your advice? Ask for help. Go down this path. Start making work more fun.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for supporting my mission, because I agree. I think it's so important for us at so many levels, not even just on a company level, but I'm at playfulworkdesign.com. If you just Google playful work design, I'm somewhere down on the page, which I know my SEO people are going, oh no, I can help you with that. Don't worry about it because it's scholarly white papers studying playful work design that come up first. So read those too. Enjoy yourself. But my website I've got a why play page with all kinds of ideas about why and some resources with podcasts and articles, how you can work with me, all of that kind of stuff. And then I am also on Instagram and LinkedIn. You can probably just search my name, Acey, and I'll pop right up.
I love that.
You know another Acey? Let me know. Right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you again so much for your time. And for those who are watching, if you would like to be a guest on Getting Personal with Compt, shoot me an email, lauren@compt.io. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.